Imagine a life without a fridge. For most of us, it's a terrifying thought. A fridge is essential for everything from keeping last night's leftovers fresh to storing our ice cream stash. But for the Amish, this is just an ordinary part of life. They've mastered techniques to preserve meat that don't require a single spark of electricity, all passed down through generations. Their methods don't just work, they rival even the best refrigerators and freezers out there. In a world obsessed with tech and convenience, the Amish proudly rely on simpler methods. No fancy gadgets or cold storage, just time-tested practices that keep their food fresh and delicious. Known for their impressive self-sufficiency, the Amish stand out in the art of food preservation. They don't merely keep their food edible, they make it last and even improve in flavor. I remember trying Amish cured ham for the first time and being a bit skeptical. No fridge? No preservatives? But that first bite completely changed my mind. The ham was smoky, flavorful, and somehow tasted fresher than anything I'd ever pulled out of my freezer. If you're imagining meat without refrigeration must be stale or dry, think again. The Amish have perfected the art of preserving food to not only last longer, but taste even better than refrigerated options. One of the oldest methods they use is salt curing. Salt has been a trusted tool in food preservation for centuries, and the Amish are masters of it. Salt is nature's original preservative, and they use it to its full potential. By applying generous amounts of salt to cuts of meat, they pull out moisture, which is essential to preventing bacteria from taking hold. When it comes to preserving meat, moisture is the enemy, and salt acts as a shield against it. But it's not as simple as just sprinkling salt on the meat. There's a careful technique behind it, almost like a ritual. The Amish select their cuts: pork, beef, or even chicken, and ensure that every inch is coated. Imagine it like a spa treatment for meat, minus the cucumber slices. Fun fact, the phrase "worth your salt" actually goes back to ancient times when salt was so valuable that Roman soldiers were paid in it. It was essentially currency, and the Amish are tapping into that same wisdom today, using salt not just as seasoning but as a lifeline for their meat. While salt is powerful, it's not always enough, especially when dealing with changing weather or the need to transport food. That's when they turn to smoking, which doesn't just add a savory, mouth-watering flavor but acts as a powerful preservation method too. Walk into any Amish kitchen, and you'll find smoked hams, sausages, and bacon hanging proudly from the rafters, all lovingly prepared. The smoking process goes beyond flavor, creating an environment that's hostile to harmful bacteria by reducing moisture and surrounding the meat with smoke and heat. This technique can extend meat's shelf life by several months, and if done well, it can even keep the meat delicious for a full year. The Amish don't stop at salt and smoke, they add a sweet twist with sugar curing. This method combines salt's preservation strength with sugar, giving meats like ham and bacon a sweet, savory flavor that's hard to beat. Sugar helps draw out moisture, much like salt, but it also adds a unique sweetness that transforms the flavor. Picture it as nature's version of candy-coated bacon, but it lasts far longer than the stuff you'd find at the grocery store. The balance between salt and sugar is critical here. Too much sugar, and it could become overly sweet. Too little, and it loses that signature Amish taste. But they have the ratios down to an art, creating meat that's a perfect blend of sweet and savory. Vinegar also plays a starring role in Amish meat preservation. Known for its high acidity, vinegar prevents bacteria from thriving, making it ideal for pickling meats like sausages and fish. A vinegar brine, often with spices, herbs, and sometimes even a touch of sugar, doesn't just preserve it, it's a tangy flavor that brings out the best in the meat. Amish families will adjust their brine recipes to suit the specific meats, adding ingredients like dill, garlic, or peppercorns to create complex, layered flavors. One lesser-known method they use is sealing meats with rendered lard. This method goes back to basics, using animal fat to keep meat fresh. Slowly heated, the fat liquefies, separating the lard from any solid bits. Once the lard cools, it creates a solid seal over the meat, locking in both freshness and flavor. This technique isn't just practical, it's also a great way to use every part of the animal. Properly sealed, lard-covered meat can last 6 months or longer in a cool, dry place. Root cellars are another timeless solution the Amish rely on. These cool, dark underground spaces act as natural refrigerators, providing the ideal conditions for storing both vegetables and meat. At temperatures between 32°F and 40°F, root cellars slow down spoilage, keeping food safe for months. In Amish culture, root cellars aren't just for potatoes and carrots. They're perfect for hanging cured meats too, with cool temperatures and ventilation creating an environment that keeps moisture and bacteria at bay. When winter arrives, the Amish tap into another seasonal preservation trick, outdoor freezing. The frigid air becomes a natural ally, as large cuts of meat are left outside to freeze. It's like having a giant freezer, courtesy of Mother Nature, and when done correctly, this method can preserve meat for months. However, they have to watch the weather to avoid issues like snow or rain, which could affect the meat. To keep it dry, Amish families cover the meat with burlap or other breathable materials. Freezing at very low temperatures even enhances the meat's texture, creating a tenderness that's almost like a natural marinade. Drying meat is another classic method that the Amish have turned into an art. Strips of seasoned meat are hung in a warm, dry place, transforming them into jerky that can last for months. Drying meat removes moisture, making it an inhospitable environment for bacteria. The Amish often hang meat in well-ventilated barns or outside on warm, sunny days, using the elements to create a perfect jerky for snacking, cooking, or even gifting. When it comes to preserving meat for long periods, pressure canning is another skill they've perfected. Meat is sealed in jars and cooked under high pressure, creating an airtight environment that kills bacteria and keeps the contents safe for years. Properly canned meat can last 3 to 5 years in a cool place, which is longer than some people's friendships. For the Amish, it's a way to ensure a reliable food source for their families, especially during long winters or when fresh meat isn't available. And then there's Pemmican, a superfood blend of dried meat, rendered fat, and sometimes berries. This ancient recipe, inspired by Native American traditions, provides a lasting energy source and is great for outdoor work or emergencies. The Amish sometimes mix in berries, adding a touch of sweetness and a boost of vitamins. The combination of fat and dried meat creates a food that can last for years without refrigeration, making it a staple in Amish households. From salt curing to pemmican, the Amish show us that modern refrigeration isn't the only answer to food storage. Their techniques, passed down and perfected over centuries, are both practical and effective. In a world where convenience often overshadows tradition, the Amish remind us that sometimes the old ways are the best. They've perfected the art of food preservation with simple, natural methods, proving that you don't need the latest gadgets to enjoy safe, flavorful food.